How's it going, guys? Today we're looking at something that I've wanted for the longest time, and that is the Steinberger Spirit. This is the Steinberger Spirit GT Pro HSS, which obviously is for humbucker and 2 single coils. Built in 2015, it's a little bit different from what they've currently got available, which is an HSH layout, which is the GT Pro Deluxe. Aside from that, it's pretty much the same guitar. They do it in a range of colours, such as white, obviously, black, hot rod yellow, hot rod red, frost blue, and what they call yin yang, which is black and white, which is pretty cool. On the face of it, it appears that Steinberger only currently makes one guitar, which makes it a lot easier for the consumer to know what they're getting, because sometimes there's companies that are a little more obscure, like Steinberger, where you don't really know the back catalogue that great, so it makes it easier to know what you're getting. Introduced in 1979, they've kept to pretty much the same specs throughout the history, which are as follows: 3-piece maple neck, an engineered hardwood fretboard with dot markers, 24 medium jumbo frets, 25.5-inch scale length, 14-inch radius, master volume and tone with a 5-way blade switch, a basswood body, set neck construction, a 1960s slim taper D profile, and most importantly of all, no headstock. You've got Steinberger's own R-trem, which is a tremolo that can be locked off. The tremolo on this can be used left-handed or right-handed. You've got Steinberger's own humbucker and 2 single coils. The tuners are a 40:1 ratio, which is nice and smooth. The ball ends just slot into the neck anchor and are held down with a rubber band, and then they slip into the saddles. The tuning on this is really stable due to the direct pull on the 40:1 ratio gears, and the fact that it's designed just to take double ball end strings means that there's nothing to cut off, there's no extra string, there's not too many winds, there's less to actually get in the way of tuning stability. And that does come with a downside in the fact that the strings are slightly more expensive than your average, because they go from about £10 to £30 depending on where you get them from. One thing that does surprise you about this is that it's actually quite a weighty little thing. It doesn't look it, but it's got a lot of body heft to it, which is good because it means it stays balanced whether you're standing or sitting. And you're probably saying, how do you sit with this? Because it's just rectangular. It's not ergonomic at all. And that's where part of its clever design comes in, because it's actually got a little fold-out leg rest, which can get annoying as it gets a little bit older, because they tend to rattle about a little bit, so when it's closed. But that's not a deal breaker for me. The bridge system's really clever because it's got these floating saddles which you basically just put into place and then lock down with a grub screw at the side. And you can set the intonation freely. It's a bit finicky the first time you do it, but once you've got it, it can just stay there, it doesn't matter too much. And you can also set the action of each saddle individually, just as you would with any other guitar. Another interesting feature is that it's a fully locked bridge, but you can just pull a little tab and then you've got a full tremolo, which acts basically like a Floyd Rose in the fact that it's running off 2 points of pivot and it's a double locking tremolo system. Now you do need to get the tension of the bridge and springs correct, otherwise when you take that lock off it's going to fly out of tune. So what you need to do is basically get it in tune while it's floating to a point where when you put the lock on, it stays in tune, which I've not done with this yet because I've just played it locked. Delving into more innovation, we've got 2 strap buttons on the bottom. It looks like the previous owner has put on some sort of strap lock system, which hasn't fared too well. It looks like it's taken a good bashing, so the screws will be bent on that. But the original is the old mushroom head style, which I really like. So I'm probably going to swap out to get 3 matching ones. Yes, there's 3, because it means that when it's standing on its end, it's not lopsided, it stands perfectly straight, which makes it so much safer for not falling over. You've got another strap button on the heel, which seems like it'd have bad balance, but like I say, the body heft really does do a lot for the balance of this guitar. And the fact that there's no headstock means that it's also not neck heavy, because it's just neck. Now, I actually kind of got this accidentally about 2 years ago at the big Birmingham guitar show. I went with the intention of not buying any guitars because I might have a few too many as it is. But when my friend said, "What are you on the hunt for?" I said, "White Steinberger." That's the only thing that I'd want to add to the collection at that current point in time. And I thought there was no chance of one being there at a reasonable price, because I said it had to be under £200, it had to, meet all these fantastical requirements. I found this second hand for £180, with the gig bag, with spare strings, with the original documentation. I kind of had to just buy it. So it came home with me, and I've not looked back since. It's super comfortable to play. The neck profile feels really natural in your hand. The balance of it is fantastic. It just sits where you need it to sit. Even when you're sitting down with it, it's where it needs to be because of the fold-out leg rest. So what do you say? Shall we have a listen to it? As you can hear, it sounds like a perfectly serviceable guitar. It's not lost anything by being headless, it's not lost anything without the body mass. It's a guitar. You know, the sound goes through the strings into the pickups. Simple as that. It does what it has to do. It is surprisingly beefy sounding for such a small body. It's not something that you would have expected because obviously generally more mass, more vibration, more heft. But no, it does really well because it is just a solid lump of guitar. Now you can pick these up brand new from £350 to £400, and in the second-hand market, your sort of standard pricing is about £250. That's not a bad price for what you're getting. Obviously, it's not a lot of actual guitar, but for a travelling musician or someone who wants something that's small enough to just keep in the living room or in the kitchen, under the bed, or next to the toilet if that's where inspiration strikes, it's a good all-rounder tool. Perfectly suited for recording with. You can use them live without any issues. And the fact that it is just portable makes life so much easier in a lot of situations. I went through a phase where I always kept a headless guitar in the boot because sometimes I want a guitar with me, and if it's headless, it's just taking up less space. Now this guitar does divide opinions, and it's completely understandable because it is a little bit out there and outlandish. It either screams 80s cool or 80s trash, there is no in between. And I think what sealed the deal for me was seeing David Bowie play one in the video for Valentine's Day. That man can make anything look cool. Now, do we have any downsides to it? The only one personally for me is the pickup layout. If it was just two humbuckers, I'd be much happier. Or even if it was just a single humbucker with a single volume, no switch, no tone, then that would be ideal for me because that's how I like to play, just put it all out there. But the versatility is good, so it doesn't lose any points. Might put some different inlay stickers on. They'd have to be something that's got that sort of futuristic vibe to it. Obviously I'm going to change the aftermarket strap buttons because the screws are bent, and at some point I'll put 10 to 46 gauge strings on it. But aside from that, it's perfect as it is. It doesn't need anything doing to it. It plays really well, it sounds good, and it looks cool. So what do you think? Do you like them? Do you hate them? Do you feel completely indifferent about them? I like them. I kind of always have done. I've built a few headless guitars over the years, and I do just kind of like the vibe of them. I think they're just a little bit different, they're a bit more fun, it feels like something that you can throw around a bit without having to worry about anything snapping. For me, great purchase. I'd say if you're not sure, try one, because obviously people get to the end of the neck and they get confused by the fact that there's nothing to actually stop their hand from slipping off the end. But as usual, if it's different, if it's unusual, try it, because you never know, you might love it. Now I want to start a new tradition on this channel, which is to end the video with some music recommendations, because I just like the idea of spreading a bit of love. So this week I want everybody to go away and listen to Folk of the 80s Part 3 by Men Without Hats, because it's just a cool album. It's very 80s. You'll enjoy it. So with that in mind, I'll catch you in the next one.